Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Latvian Football Podcast, where we are looking at the next opponents of Latvian clubs in Europe. We have amassed quite a few of these episodes this year, which is a fantastic delight because, of course, RFS have made it all the way to the Europa League phase. And two games have come and gone, a defeat to the Romanian FCSB, and then a fantastic draw against the Turkish Galatasaray. And then we had an international break, and the Europa League is back, which is very exciting. Next opponents for RFS are the formidable Eintracht Frankfurt, who they will be playing away in Germany. With me to learn more about this Bundesliga side, a historic club, a fantastic club, is Oliver Schliegl. Hi, Oliver.
Hi, Dimitris.
So, Oliver, you are a very interesting fella indeed. You used to run the Virsliga for a brief period of time, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. In 2017, I was the managing director for a brief time in Virsliga. I live in Latvia now since 14 years and not always, or at the start, not working in the football industry, but now since 2013, I do. Mostly as an agent, players intermediary. This is also what I'm doing now. But like you just said, I was also involved in the Virsliga here.
That is super interesting. It's definitely not a profile you come across every day at all. So I don't know. Before we start talking about Eintracht Frankfurt, I mean, maybe I can just tease you a little bit and ask you what do you think about Latvian football?
Good. You start with a difficult question
Oh,
again.
come on. You're here.
Yeah.
You're in football. There's something you like about it.
Well, yes, of course, I like my heart, my emotions, my sympathy are indeed with Latvian football. I follow it a lot, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. I'm watching a lot of games in Virsliga, once a while even in Narkut Virsliga, in the second division, or some youth games because I'm trying to find always Latvian talents. And of course, the national team. Yeah, with the national team, it's an up and down. The team is unfortunately not very successful. I was in the stadium when they lost against Northern Macedonia. They played not a very good first half, but the second half was basically from the performance decent. And then I watched live their away game in Thorsound against Faröer, which was awful for 60, 65 minutes, and then with the substitution of Dario Sheets and Lukas Wapner. Something changed in the game. The equalizer came a bit out of nothing, but after the equalizer, the Latvian team played much better. Finally, they had some ball possession and also a few more chances to score a second.
Yeah, well, I kick you off with a difficult question, and you take me to a painful topic in response. So thank you very much for that. Let's leave the Latvian national team for
Mm.
another time and learn more about Eintracht Frankfurt. Were you excited when they got drawn against RFS in the Europa League?
Yes, indeed. I was hoping RFS would get a German opponent. There were two in the pot, Hoffenheim and Eintracht. Ideally, one of those teams would play here in Liga. Yeah, but from the player's point of view, it couldn't be better. Yeah, to play an away game in Frankfurt in front of a sold-out stadium with almost 58,000 spectators. For the players, it will be probably the game of their life.
Absolutely. I mean, in Romania, there was something like 35,000 very dedicated and vocal Romanians in attendance. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like in Frankfurt. And I mean, RFS will be playing this hugely historic club, Eintracht Frankfurt, club with 125-year history, and it's older
Mm.
than the Latvian state. As you mentioned, 58,000 capacity stadium. It's crazy. It's crazy exciting. Can you tell us maybe a little bit about Eintracht? They are a significant side, and they have won the Europa League twice, including recently 2 years ago. But what are they? What are they about? Who are they?
Yeah, Eintracht Frankfurt is one of the so-called traditional clubs in Germany. Yeah, as you just mentioned, Dimitri's 125 years of history. They were founded 1899 under a different name, Victoria Football Club. Then this club merged with another club in Frankfurt, and then in 1920, 1921, they called themselves for the first time Sportgemeinde. Yeah, abbreviation is SG Eintracht, and that's the reason why the fans in the stadium are calling the club SGE. Yeah, in German language SGE. You will hear this during the broadcast a lot. So what happened then? They were in 1963 one of the founding members of German Bundesliga. At that time, Bundesliga started with 16 teams. Yeah, there was a certain process how the 16 teams were evaluated and be chosen. And Eintracht had a very successful time then in the 70s. They won the German Cup twice, and they had two major players in their squad at that time who became 1974 world champion with Germany by beating the Netherlands in the Munich final 2-1. The names are Jürgen Grabowski and Bernd Hölzenbein. Hölzenbein even got a penalty in that final. Later he was sporting director, and both of them unfortunately have passed away recently, but they're absolutely legends in that club. So then a very shaky period of Eintracht Frankfurt started in the 90s, because between 1996 and 2012, Eintracht Frankfurt managed to relegate 4 times from German Bundesliga, and then they promoted again 4 times from second Bundesliga into the first Bundesliga. This is one of the reasons why the club is called the Diva from Main, because what you can rely on with Eintracht Frankfurt is their unpredictability. They can beat a top team, and they are specialized in beating Bayern Munich. They beat them several times with a high margin. I remember matches like 5-1 when Niko Kovac was coach of Bayern Munich, and 5-1 when Thomas Tuchel was recently head coach there. But then the next games against teams who are apparently weaker, they lose. Yeah. So this is what Eintracht Frankfurt really makes. However, the fans, especially in the decade since the last promotion to Bundesliga in 2012, yeah, they are the 12th man, and they have a very special reputation in German Bundesliga, and especially also internationally. But I think we will come to that a bit later.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about that, definitely, but I'm more curious about these nicknames. One of them you mentioned, the Diva from the Mine. There's another one that I saw, the Moody Diva, and okay, you explained why those, but then there's a third one, the Schlappenkicker, which is the slipper kickers. What does that even mean?
Yeah, this basically is not used very often anymore, but it refers also to basically what I said. Schlappenkicker is, translated into English, weak football players, and like I just mentioned, as in some games they are amazingly strong, yeah, especially at home, and they are always good for a surprise. However, they are always good for a surprise in a negative way as well. Yeah, there are several seasons I can recall where Eintracht Frankfurt was, basically seen as a strong team in Bundesliga, and then at the end they were relegated. Yeah, the last time they were relegated in 2011, under a famous coach, yeah, Christoph Daum, who also just recently passed away. Yeah. He very famous. He became with Stuttgart German champion in 1993, 3, where Eintracht Frankfurt was very, very close to become German Bundesliga champion for the first time. They became German champion before the Bundesliga in 1959, but in 1993 they had probably the best team ever, or 1992, I'm sorry. The best team ever, with Dragoslav Stepanovic as head coach, with Uwe Bein, who became world champion with Germany in 1990, beating Argentina in the final in Rome. Yeah, and the JJ Okocha, the famous Nigerian, and Anthony Yeboah from Ghana, and Maurizio Gardino. So technically a superb team, and they were dominating the Bundesliga, but in the very, very last match day, yeah, they couldn't win in Hansa Rostock, who was relegated already. At the same time, Stuttgart beat Leverkusen away with Christoph Daum, and they became champion. So this describes Eintracht Frankfurt, I would say, quite well. Yeah, unpredictable and always good for positive, but also for a negative surprise.
I mean, if they underperform against weaker teams, that certainly works in our favor, doesn't it?
It might be, but now, especially this season, Eintracht Frankfurt plays a very, very good football, and they are, to the surprise of their own fans maybe, but also to the surprise of experts, among the top 3 in the Bundesliga. Just Bayern Munich and Leipzig have a point more. And what kind of football Frankfurt played, you could see in their spectacular match against Bayern Munich at home, 3-3, where Bayern Munich had 70% ball possession. But the transition football Eintracht Frankfurt can play with their players is amazing. Absolutely amazing. How they scored the 2 goals in the first half, yeah, Ekitike and Omar Mamouche. And then in the last minute, Omar Mamouche, the equalizer, yeah, the whole Bundesliga was talking.
So is that how they normally play transitional football, or was that just for that particular game? Is it a tactic that they use, or is it their signature approach?
It is a kind of their signature approach because you play football according to the players you have. Yeah, and what they have are players who are fast and very fast and powerful. Yeah, if we already maybe move a little bit to their squad, yeah, they have 2 extremely strong fullbacks. Rasmus Christensen, who is on loan from Leeds United on the right side, and Niels Nkuku, the French former under-21 national player, on the left side. Yeah, and then of course the strikers. This is the most strength of Eintracht Frankfurt. Yeah, they have Hugo Ekitike, the French young player who came from PSG. Yeah, last season he was not as strong. He needed some time to adjust, but this season, yeah, his powerful finish, fantastic. But then on top of that is Omar Mamouche, the Egyptian, already is in Bundesliga since some years. He started at Wolfsburg, then he went on loan to St. Pauli. He played in Stuttgart, went back to Wolfsburg. Now in Frankfurt, but he never played better than this season. Yeah, you can see the stats he has. You can see the games he played, especially against Bayern Munich. Omar Mamouche needs space because his strength is his acceleration. He is explosive. Yeah, and then nobody can stop. Yeah, you could see this how Upamecano from Bayern Munich had huge problems against him. However, against RFS, against a team who will play very defense-oriented football, it will be a different ballgame, of course.
But how do they tend to transition? Do they go on the flanks? Do they try to go through the middle? Is it some kind of cutting passes, passing into space?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially passing into space. Yeah, this is how Mamouche especially, but also Ekitike are playing. They have an eye for that room which the defenders are giving them, and then pass into the interface between the defenders. Yes, and they do the run, and then hardly anybody can stop. However, Frankfurt also plays when they have the ball possession. For example, in the game against Viktoria Pilsen, the first match, they play through the center, However, also they use those fullbacks, Christensen and Kuku, for runs along the line, and then crosses into the box, where especially Etikette with his header is always dangerous.
RFS surprised, I think, everyone when they fielded a 4-2-3-1 against Galatasaray, although they reverted back to a three-defender line kind of halfway through the match. How do you foresee them coping with Eintracht?
I think Victor Moros will play very defensive football. I think his approach will be that he will start with 5 players in defense. I foresee that Lipusek, Balodis, Prenga will be the central defender. And then Savalniks on the right side, and then, on the left side, Zelenkovs or Mares, depends. But both fullbacks will play defensive football. I don't think they will do a lot of offensive actions because they don't want to give Frankfurt any space. Victor Moros knows perfectly if he does this, then they will concede a number of goals. Because neither Lipusek nor Mares nor Balodis or Prenga have the speed to control Mamouche, especially, or Etikette.
All right. Well, that leaves counterattacks, basically. How is Eintracht Frankfurt at the back?
Well, they play sometimes with 4 defenders, sometimes with a 3 defensive line. That depends a bit. Against Bayern, they played with 4 defenders, so only 2 center backs. And I can imagine that they would do this approach as well against RFS. One simple reason is that German national player Robin Koch is not completely fit. He may not even play the top match on Saturday against Leverkusen. Then there will be Tuta, the Brazilian, and Theat, the new Belgium center back, who's on loan from Stade Rennes. And then Nkuku on the left side, Christensen on the right side. They have midfielders, Elias Shaqiri, the Tunisian. He is not so strong right now this season. So maybe Mo Dahoud, former national player of Germany, will replace him. Definitely, I see Hugo Larsson there, the Swede, who is in fantastic shape right now. And then another midfielder could be offensive-oriented Shaibi, the Algerian, together with very famous, also Latvian famous Mario Götze, who scored the only goal in the 2014 World Cup final against Argentina in Rio de Janeiro. And then Etikette and Mamouche. But Dino Topmöller may also rotate a little bit, give one or the other players a break after the very tough game in Leverkusen. So maybe Ansgar Knauf, the German under 21 national player, may get a chance. Maybe even Matanovic. He's a clear number 9, a striker. There are several options Dino Topmöller has.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens, obviously, on the day, and it's good to know some of the aspects of Frankfurt's, maybe the weaker spots, or maybe mentally weaker spots in terms of underestimation. But you mentioned fans are quite special.
Mm-hmm.
What makes them special?
The passion. There are only a few stadiums in Germany with this exceptional passion of fans. There is Dortmund, of course, Schalke, who's now in second Bundesliga, Kaiserslautern, for sure, also second Bundesliga. But Frankfurt, especially in those international games, always creates a special atmosphere. They have a choreography, before almost every international match. Their chants, they're singing constantly, and they give the full support over 90 minutes, almost independent of the result. I can remember only very, very few games last season when they had a shocking bad game against Saint-Gilloise in Conference League. They were eliminated. There, the atmosphere was a bit going down, but otherwise, full support for their boys.
You think it's going to be a sellout or close to a sellout?
No, it will be sold. It
Even
will be
for
sold out.
RFS?
The home area is 100% sold out. And then it depends. The guest team always has a certain capacity according to UEFA rules. I don't know if RFS will be able to fill that. It will be 4-digit numbers, but it will be definitely sold out from the home area.
Even for visiting Latvian champions that nobody probably knows even existed until a few weeks ago.
Well, I give an example. 2019 qualification round for the Europa League. And Frankfurt was hosting Flora Tallinn. Nobody knew about Tallinn, about the team. And the stadium, it was a qualification game, was completely sold out. And the players of Flora Tallinn are still speaking about that match because they have never seen such an atmosphere. So after the game, the Flora players, and they played very well and just lost 2-1. They went first to their 50 away games who were following them from Tallinn. But then they went to the fans of Eintracht Frankfurt to thank them for this special atmosphere. And the Frankfurt fans were applauding them, and singing Tallinn, Tallinn, because this also is something which doesn't happen usually in international games.
That is a fantastic story. Thank you very much.
Pollack, the president of Flora Tallinn, was sitting next to the president of Eintracht Frankfurt, at that time Peter Fischer. And apparently I was told that Pollack was crying into the arms of Peter Fischer during or after that game because he couldn't believe what was going on.
Yeah, well, if I was running Estonian football in the same way, I'd be crying also, but that's a different conversation. Lovely story though. Let's see what happens. RFS certainly has had a similar experience against Fiorentina back in the Conference League, and it's a friendly club with a nice community around it, and I feel like away fans also perceive that there's no trash talking or arrogance. I mean, there's no reason to, but also it's good to know that Eintracht fans are the way that you described, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how the stadium will show up and what it will all look like. What do you think is going to be the final score?
Honestly, Dimitri, I'm not very good in projecting or forecasting games. I think I can see two pathways here. One is the one I'm hoping for, that RFS will play such a good game than Flora Tallinn did 5 years ago. Yeah, that would be fantastic, and especially for Victor, for the boys, to suck off this atmosphere, and then basically to have something to tell even to their children and grandchildren. Because it will be probably the loudest atmosphere for all the players, including Giannis Ikauniks even, they've ever seen in their career. The question I have is, how can they adapt to this special atmosphere? Yeah, will this give them an extra portion of motivation, and they can even run more or faster, or they will be like the rabbit in front of the snake, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that happened exactly a year ago to HJK Helsinki. Yeah, they couldn't adapt really, and they lost 6-0 in Frankfurt. So let's hope this will not happen. But I think every football fan in Latvia will agree that Frankfurt is the strong favorite in that game, especially at home. RFS is the outsider, and it's a test for all the players and for Victor Moros, for their character, and for their resilience and resistance in such an atmosphere and such.
I mean that.